What's going on, everyone? Give some people a chance to get in here because I did start a little early. I had everything ready, so I was like, why not? Why not start a little early? Good morning, Dylan. Good morning, young sir. All right. So now that I got my honey in my tea, I'm going to go ahead and get it started. Good morning, good morning, good morning. Everyone, today is May 9th, 2024. It's a rainy morning. Like I said on Facebook, Martin was not able to join me today. He had some things that he had to tend to and that was going on, and that's completely fine, man. People got lives, and I don't expect them to be able to make it on here every time we're scheduled to be on here. But I just appreciate the times that they are able to get on. So, and that's that. But Martin's not able to join us, but I do still want to kind of keep the theme the same for Thursdays, and we're going to kind of make this more like a self-reflecting, self-improving type thing. And we'll talk about God some too. I do want to keep the theme the same though. Somewhat. I know I'm not qualified to talk about the Bible and all that, so I'm not even going to try, but we will keep it on a positive note. Kind of different from the other days of the Morning Brew podcast where we're not talking about God and self-improvement so much. We're talking about like real world events a little more. So today we'll keep the theme the same. I do want to share with you guys because I do have the Bible app on my phone. And this was the verse that popped up on there today. So I do want to go ahead and share that with you guys. And I mean, it's a pretty self-explanatory one, I feel like. So it's not even like I'm going to share it and then we can sit here and try to interpret what it means. Because I know a lot of times, depending on what you're going through in your life, you can interpret certain things in the Bible different ways, depending on how they apply to your life at that point in time. But I think this one's pretty self-explanatory. Hebrews 13:8. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. And like I said, pretty self-explanatory. He's unchanging. You know, he's the same every day. So, I mean, if that tells you anything, then it just tells you that he's consistent and the love for you that he has is everlasting. So, just wanted to share that with you guys today. Like I said, I want to keep the theme somewhat the same and in the same kind of vibe, you know, same kind of energy. So I did want to share that with you guys today before we got started on the list of topics that I had. So with that being said, the first topic that I did want to talk about is pain. So when you think of pain, what's the first thing that you think of? Because I know that when a lot of people think of pain or they know they're about to be in pain or they think of the pain that they dealt with, they always put it in a negative light. And I think that pain, for the most part, isn't a negative thing. Because if you think about anything in life, um, pain is absolutely necessary for what you need to become, who you need to be, what point in your life you need to get to. If we were always just comfortable and we never experienced any pain, then it would be very hard for us to have the motivation or the urge to change for the better. And I am getting my I just went a week ago. I just went a week ago and got a consultation to get my wisdom teeth pulled out. So I was doing all this research on dental stuff, wisdom teeth and all this and that. And I was looking at random stuff like most people do when they're scared of getting something done. I'm pretty fucking terrified of, oh my God. I didn't mean to cuss, sorry. God forgive me. Mara's not on here to remind me. I am pretty terrified to get my wisdom teeth taken out. I got to get all four of them taken out. So I was looking at all this stuff on teeth, and I was just looking at it, and it just related to life and so much, and this topic so much, that I wanted to get on here and talk about it, because I found out that the nerves in your tooth only needs those nerves when the tooth is below the gum, because what their job is, while the tooth is below the gum, is to send nutrients to that tooth to make the enamel strong, to make it grow, all this and that. So they do have that job while the tooth is below the gum, to make it strong, to make it grow, and all this and that. Once the tooth gets above the gum, though, their only job is to act as pain receptors. And I got to thinking about it, and I was like, well, why would whoever did this whole thing, why would they put nerves that are, I mean, why does our teeth need to feel stuff? You know what I mean? Why does our teeth need to feel stuff? Why do our teeth need nerves? And I got to thinking about it, and I was like, why would our teeth need nerves? Well, like, we don't feel what we eat with our teeth, so why do they need to be able to why do they need nerves and stuff? It's purely for pain receptors. And what does pain do in your everyday life? I mean, it's just like these teeth. What does pain do for you? It lets you know something's wrong and it's time for a change. And you can apply that to everything in your life. We always shed this negative light on pain like it's such a, oh shoot, I'm not even streaming to Facebook right now. I wasn't even streaming to Facebook that whole time. Wow, I'm streaming now, hopefully. Okay. These buttons, I don't know why they changed, so they should just be on default, I feel like. Well, it makes sense why you were in here. It makes sense why you were in here, Dylan, because it was on you. It was only streaming to YouTube. Um, Man, that's wild. Anyway, I just looked up and seen that after I got into the whole spill. So I'm probably going to have to go through this again, if people get in here, because these were pretty big topics that I wanted to hit on. And I wasn't even streaming to Facebook that whole time, and that's where I get most of the viewers at there. Because a lot of them don't want to subscribe to YouTube. Shame on them. But we'll come back. We'll come back to that, though, if I end up having to go back over it again. But I just thought that was crazy, that the only reason that teeth have nerves above the gum is to act as pain receptors. And if you apply that to your life, we have to experience pain to let us know when something is wrong and there needs to be a change. So anytime you go through pain in your life, it's probably because you were either doing something wrong or something's wrong and there needs to be a change. That applies to everything. I mean, if you're riding your bike as a 5-year-old kid If you're a 5-year-old kid and you're outside riding your bike and you fall off and you scrape your knee, you probably need to change something that you were doing when it comes to riding that bike so that you don't fall off and scrape your knee again. It applies to anything in life. It literally applies to anything in life. But we always shed that negative light on pain. When pain is such an important thing in our life, because if it wasn't for pain, then we would never have that urge to correct what we're doing wrong. We would never have that urge to make changes in our life that are necessary to prevent that pain from happening in the future. So pain is very necessary. And like I said, with the tooth, when the tooth is below the gum, the only reason that we have those nerves and them roots is to send nutrients to that tooth to help it grow, to make it become strong, to build the enamel, all this and that. Once that tooth gets above the gum, the only reason that we have those nerves is for pain receptors to let us know when something's wrong and something needs to be changed. And that goes for anything in your life. That goes for anything in your life. Pain is used to let you know when something that you're doing is wrong or something has went wrong and something needs to be changed. And that boils down to the littlest things. Like I said, riding your bike, falling off, scraping your knee. You got to change something that you're doing so that you don't do that in the future. So pain is very necessary. Pain is very necessary. And for those of you tuning in, I was streaming, but I was only streaming to YouTube the whole time. So I wasn't streaming to Facebook. So you guys kind of missed the beginning. Just in the beginning, I said that I wanted to keep the theme pretty much the same on Thursdays, as far as like focusing on God, self-improvement, stuff like that. Martin's not on here today, and I'm not qualified to talk about the Bible, so I'm not going to try to do that. I just wanted to share the verse that popped up on my Bible app today on my phone, which was Hebrews 13:8. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday and today and forever. And like I said, I'm not going to try to interpret that. I feel like that's pretty self-explanatory. There are parts of the Bible that you can interpret differently depending on what's going on in your life at that time, depending on who you are as a person. So I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Jesus is unchanging and he loves you today, tomorrow, and forever. And we'll just keep it at that. You know, I feel like that was put pretty simply in there because it is just that simple. Sometimes it is that simple. Sometimes people make shit too hard, you know, things too hard. I'm trying not to curse, man. I mean, when I got Martin on here, just looking at him reminds me. So I'm trying not to curse, you know, because I am trying to keep the theme the same here. But yeah, that pain is necessary, man. And for those of you that didn't hear it with the pain thing, you're gonna have to go back and watch it because I already watched it twice and I ain't gonna be on here like a broken record. So, all right, next thing, change and progression. So, like we was talking about with pain. Pain is necessary because it lets you know when something is wrong and it lets you know when it's time to make a change. And that goes with your love life. If the person that you love and supposedly loves you is causing you constant pain, then it's probably time to make a change. And that pain can be physical or mental pain. Okay. And anytime people think of pain, most of the time they think of physical pain. You know, like your spouse is beating on you or whatever it might be. There's mental pain too. So whether it's physical or mental pain, that pain is there to let you know it might be time to make a change. It might be time to get away from this person. You know what I mean? And you have to keep in mind also that all change isn't good. You know, just because you change doesn't necessarily mean that you made progress. A lot of times people change for the worse. So when you are dealt that pain for whatever reason, make sure that you learn from that pain. You know what I'm saying? You're going through that pain to teach you what you were doing wrong. You know what I mean? So if you go through the pain, you have to reflect on what you did wrong to bring that pain on and then change your actions in the future to prevent that pain in the future. You know what I mean? And and like I said, that pain goes for anything in your life, your love life, getting physically hurt in a car wreck, teeth, you know, it goes for anything. Pain is used to show you when a change is needed and that something's wrong, you know, and with progression. And Martin's hit on this a few times. Not progression specifically, but he says the thing where like Um, you can't keep going back to the trash for old scraps, for old rotten, tasteless scraps if you're trying to become a new, better you. You know what I mean? If you keep going back to the trash for rotten, tasteless leftovers, then it's going to be very hard for you to become a new, better you because you're constantly exposing yourself to those ways. You know what I mean? So if you want to become a better person, then you have to move on from that. You know what I mean? Because a lot of people confuse moving with progression, and you can be moving backwards. You know what I mean? Just because you're moving doesn't always mean that you're moving forward. A lot of people confuse just making moves with progression. And just because you're making moves doesn't mean you're making moves in the right direction. So change and progression are things that you really have to focus on if you're trying to improve as a person. And like I've said a million times, I don't want to get on here preaching like I got this stuff mastered because I absolutely do not. I deal with this stuff every day. And that's one of the ways that I come up with these topics is because these are topics that I struggle with also. You know what I mean? So change and progression, change for the better, and make sure you're progressing in the right direction. Holding on to hate for people in your past. And this is a huge one, man. This is a huge one. Progression comes with reflection. Yeah, you have to reflect to progress. You have to. You have to. And a lot of people have a hard time. A lot of people have a hard time admitting that they're wrong. A lot of people cannot handle finding out that they're wrong. So then they start to become delusional and completely deny the fact that they're wrong. And what you have to understand is if you refuse to acknowledge when you do something wrong, then you will never progress in life. Okay. Because the only way you progress is by acknowledging that you did something wrong and changing it for the better. If you refuse to acknowledge that you did something wrong, then there's going to be no reason for you to do it a different way because you think that you were right. So you'll never progress and things will just remain the same. And that goes for everything. If you're pedaling on a bike down the road, you fall off, scrape your knee, and you're like, oh, no, I was doing it right. There was just a pothole. That's why I fell. Okay, you can keep on telling yourself that. But if you wasn't doing something right the way you was riding the bike, then it's going to happen again. And you can keep on telling yourself it's because of the road. But eventually you have to self-reflect and acknowledge the fact that, okay, maybe you wasn't doing something right with the way you were riding the bike. It comes with your love life. You know what I'm saying? You did something in your love life. You know, that they're trying to tell you, you know, I just got mad because what you did was wrong. And you refuse to accept the fact that what you did was wrong. Then you're going to keep on doing the same things in your love life. And you're going to keep on causing the same pain to that person because you refuse to change who you are. And they are going to be the ones to make the change. And the change is going to be removing you from their life. You have to be able to acknowledge the things that you do wrong. Because if you can't acknowledge and self-reflect the things that you do wrong, then you're never going to make no progress. You'll always remain the same simple-minded person who refuses to improve because you already think you're perfect. And I've always said, the dumbest people are the ones that think they know everything. Because you can always learn something and you can always be better. And you should always be trying to be better. And you should always be trying to learn as much as you can because you can learn something different from everybody. You know what I mean? I don't care what position somebody's in. They've been through something that you haven't been through. So that means that they've experienced and they've learned things that you haven't. You can learn something from everybody. Holding on to hate for people in the past. And this is a big one, man, because I know a lot of people do it. I know a lot of people do it. You'll have people from back in high school. I'm 31 now. You'll have people from back in high school holding on to hate. It might not even know why. Might not even know why. But if you hold on to hate for people, then they have control. If you really dislike that person and you really used enough energy to hate that person, then you're just letting that person have control of you. You know what I mean? If they're able to make you feel that emotion after all that time, then that just means that they have control over you. You know, you have to let go of that hate, because as long as you hold on to it, then this person has control over you. And if you don't want that person to have control over you, then you just got to forgive and move on. You know what I mean? You just got to forgive and move on. And I don't have ill will towards nobody. You know, I don't have ill will no matter what happened in our past. You know what I mean? I forgive and move on, because I'm not going to let you have that control over me. You know, I might not associate with you. I might not have you as a part of my life, but I don't hate you. I'm not spending that energy thinking about you and the ill will that I have towards you. I don't care about that. I don't have no effect on me. You're messing with my peace at that point. You know, you're messing with my peace at that point. Now, I'm not going to go out of my way to hang out with you or nothing like that. You know, I'm not going to go out of my way to associate with you, you know, but it's just, I'm not going to have that hate on my heart for you neither. You know what I'm saying? I'll talk to you out in public stuff. You know, we can have a conversation like mature adults and stuff like that. I don't hate you. You got to let go of that, man. You got to let go. You got to let go. And I hope nobody thinks that I don't like them because I don't talk to them. I hope nobody thinks that I hate them because of something that happened. That 9 times out of 10, I probably don't remember what happened in the past that you think I hate you for. If something happened in the past and you think I don't like you because of that, 9 times out of 10, I probably don't even remember that happening. So that's what I'm saying, man. Like, you got to stop holding on to hate for people in your past. Just let it go. They're in your past for a reason. You know, so why you even still entertaining it? Why you still spending energy on that? You know, and I don't want nobody to think that I don't like them or I got a problem with them. And it's been 10 years since we talked. I promise you, I don't even remember what it was. So we can move on from that. You know what I'm saying? We can move on from that. And a lot of times there's so many people that I remember having problems with in the past, and I see them now, and I'm just genuinely happy for them that they're doing better, because you got so many people that were completely different years ago. You know what I mean? I'm a completely different person I'm a completely different person now than I was years ago. You know? So just because I had a problem with you some years back, it was probably a reflection of who I was and who you was back then. And I'm not going to hold you to that same standard now. You're not the same person now as you was back then. I wouldn't want you to hold me to that standard. So why would I hold you to that standard? You know what I mean? You got a clean slate as far as I'm concerned, and we can move on. You know, I don't got no hate for you. I don't got no ill will for you. If I don't talk to you out in public, or I don't initiate a conversation with you out in public, it's not because I don't like you, and it's not because I hate you. It's just simply because I'm not a very social person. And I know that's weird to say because I'm on a podcast, but I only usually have people on the podcast with me that I'm comfortable talking to, with. You know, I don't just have random people on here. I don't just have anybody on here. I'm just not a social person. It's nothing against you. So don't ever take it like, if you ever see me out in public and I don't initiate a conversation, or you try to talk to me and I'm super short, or I seem like I'm in a bad mood or something, like it ain't none of that. It's none of the above. It's just because I'm not a very social person. You know what I mean? You can call it shy or whatever you want to call it. I'm just not a very social person. It's nothing against you. I don't have nothing against nobody, man. I don't have nothing against nobody. And if you think there was a reason why I don't like you, I probably don't even remember what it was. There might have been a legitimate reason for me not to like you from back in the past. And now I probably don't even remember what it was, man. There's just so much other stuff going on. People are growing up having kids. People are finding God. You know what I'm saying? People are trying to change their life around, because this is that point in time when you do that in your late 20s, early 30s, mid 30s, whatever it may be. This is when you really find out who you are. You know what I mean? This is who you really change in and develop into the type of person that you want to be. So what do I look like holding something against you from 5, 10 years ago when you were a completely different person? You know what I mean? I'm not going to do that unless it was something crazy, of course. But I'm not going to do that, man. Because 9 times out of 10, at that young of an age, if you were beefing over something, it was probably some dumb shit to begin with. So what do I look like still being mad at you for that? You know? No, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. So let go of that hate for the people in your past. If there was somebody that did you wrong in the past, just let it go. Let it go. Forgive and move on. Forgive and move on. If you can, give them the benefit of the doubt. You know what? They was kind of messed up back then, but it looks like they got on track. It looks like they got their life on track. And it looks like something happened along the way that really lit their mind up and said, you know what? That ain't how I want to move no more. That's not how I want to move no more. I want to be a better person. And that happens all the time. It happens all the time. All it takes is one thing to happen in your life to spark that light that makes you just think, I want to be better. I want to be a better person. I don't want to live like this no more. I don't want to live with hate in my heart and constantly making enemies. And every time I go somewhere, I got to look over my shoulder because somebody don't like me for this and that. You know what I mean? It's pointless. Let go of it. Let go of that hate in your heart and move on, man. It's pointless. It's pointless. I'm telling you. I'm telling you. All right, moving right along. Moving right along. Settling because of loneliness. Good Lord. Good Lord, is this not a topic? This is probably my favorite topic from today, actually, because you see so many people do it. You see so many people settle because of loneliness. There are so many people that do not know how to be alone. They do not know how to be content alone. They do not know how to be happy alone. They do not know how to be alone. And I would say to those people, first of all, find out who you are, find out what kind of person you are, the things you enjoy. Learn how to be happy alone. Once you learn how to be happy alone, then anybody that you add to your life after that is just a plus. Because if you're not happy by yourself, then you're just adding bad quality people to your life to prevent you from being lonely. But once you learn to be happy by yourself, then it's a privilege for other people to come into your life. You know what I'm saying? Anybody that once you learn to be happy by yourself, then anybody that you add after that is just a cherry on the top. And once you learn to be happy by yourself, you start filtering through people a lot better. You know what I mean? Because it's like, because you might have accepted certain things before that you wouldn't have accepted in the past. Like when you had a hard time being by yourself, you might have accepted certain things and let certain things slide just because you didn't want to be alone. But then when you became happy being by yourself and you were able to be by yourself and be content being by yourself, then you start looking at things different. Like, no, I'm not going to accept that no more because I don't have to. I'm not going to let this person in my life with this toxic behavior and these toxic actions because I don't have to. I'm not afraid of being lonely. I don't have to settle for that. You know what I'm saying? Because there's a lot of people who can't be lonely, don't know how to be lonely. They ain't happy when they're lonely. And that's why those are the people that you constantly see in these short-term relationships, because they're just sifting through. They're just sifting through one after another. They don't even care what qualities these people bring. They don't even care what kind of heart or soul these people have. They're just letting them into their life because they don't want to be lonely. And that's one of the biggest issues that I see is people settling because of loneliness. Like I said, figure out who you are, figure out what things you enjoy, what things you love, and you will become happy alone. You will find out how to be happy by yourself. And hey, if you add God into the mix, then you ain't lonely. You're not alone. If you add God into the mix, you're not alone. And I'm not saying that you have to, because I know there are people out there that's like, no, I'm not getting into all that. You trying to force God down. I knew he was getting to that. I'm just saying. These are some of the steps that I have personally went through and figured out that work for me. Figure out what you love, figure out who you are as a person, and find out what works for you and what makes you happy and helps you be alone. Because you have to be able to be alone. You have to be able to be alone. You got to find out how to be happy alone. Because if you're unhappy alone, then you're going to go out and you're going to search for the first candidate that's going to come spend the night in your bed just so you ain't alone. But once you find God, once you figure out how to be happy alone, then it's a privilege for them to come into your life, and you can treat that shit like a job interview. Oh, you ain't got, nah, nope. Next one. Next one. We ain't going to do that again. We ain't going to do that again because I don't have to settle no more. I don't have to settle no more because I'm not afraid of being alone. So I don't have to settle no more. You know, that's just what it is. What are you drinking? I am drinking green tea with clover honey. Yeah. Green tea, clover honey. Yes. Gotta figure out that Gotta figure that out before you can be with someone else for sure, bro. If you aren't okay with yourself, you can't love or be with someone properly. Yeah. If you're not taking care of your mental and you're not content being with yourself, then what makes you think that you have what is necessary to be in a relationship with another person? You're not even good in your own head, you know? You're not even good in your own head. So if you're not good in your own head, then 9 times out of 10, that's going to um project onto the person that you're with. You know what I mean? Because that's what causes the insecurities. That's what causes all that extra toxic shit that fucks up these relationships, you know? Facts. 100. Yeah, man. And that's just settling because of loneliness. Don't do it. Don't do it. You see it all the time. If you get on Facebook right now on your timeline, you'll see somebody that just hopped into a relationship, and it's those people that you see in a new relationship every it's like every 3 months. You know what I'm saying? They was with somebody, they got engaged to somebody. It didn't work out for some reason that nobody knows about, and then they're with somebody else a month later, and it's like that's not how this is supposed to go. You know, that is someone when you see those people who are in a new relationship every 3 months or whatever it may be, they're engaged to random people and then in a new relationship the next month because that didn't work out for whatever reason. Those people are the ones that have not figured out how to be happy alone. You know what I mean? Take a year, take 2 years, be by yourself. What's so scary about that? What's so scary about that? That's what you have to do sometimes. Because when you're jumping around from relationship to relationship, the quality of people that are entering your life are not good people because you're settling and you're accepting shit that you shouldn't have to. And you're doing it because you're scared of being lonely. You don't want to be lonely. It's okay to be lonely. I promise you. It's okay to be, and I'm not going to say lonely. It's okay to be alone. It's okay to be alone. It's all right. Especially if you have kids, man. If you have kids, then you really shouldn't be settling just so you ain't lonely. You really shouldn't be bringing random people into their lives. You know what I mean? And especially like what I was just talking about. You shouldn't be bringing random people into your kid's life every 3 months just because you're afraid of sleeping alone. How's that fair to them? You know what I mean? You can't, and the quality of people that, if you're jumping around like that and they're just all for it, you know what I mean? The quality of people probably ain't that great. So settling because of loneliness, nah, don't do it. Especially if you got kids, man, because it's not just about you now. It's not just about you now. You might have been able to get away with that. You know, you might have been able to get away with that before you had kids. But now you're messing with their mental too. And then everybody is affected in this relationship. You have to love yourself before you can accept the true love of someone else. Yeah. Yeah. Because if you don't love yourself, then that means that you are very insecure about what you bring to the table. So it will be very hard for you to understand why somebody else loves you if you don't love yourself. So you will think that that person is lying to you every time they tell you that they love you because you don't even love yourself. So how could this person love me? You'll think that they're lying every time they tell you that they love you because you don't even love yourself. You know? So I took 2 years by myself before I found my wife. I found myself and had fun and time with my family and friends. And sometimes that's what you got to do, Dylan. You got to take a year or two or however long you need. You know what I mean? Figure out what you really value, what is important to you, and what do you want. You know what I mean? What things are temporary, what things are permanent, and what you want your future to look like for real. You know what I mean? Because if you're just sitting there and you're just thinking about, well, I just want to have a good time, then you're going to bring those people into your life that also just want to have a good time. You know what I mean? But If you're able to figure out like, hey, I want something long lasting, I want something permanent, I want a soulmate, I want somebody that's good for my kids, a good role model or influence on my kids, and you decide and you set that hey, this is what I need. That's the type of people you're going to attract. That's the type of environment you're going to be in. You know? So as a parent, I never let my kid meet any guys until my now husband. Yeah, I don't blame you. I don't play. I mean, especially now with the world being as crazy as it is, you really can't just be bringing random people into your household, all because you're lonely and you want some attention. You know what I mean? And it's. I'm not just saying this about women. It's men too. Men do this too. Men will bring random women around their kids. And why are we doing that? You know what I mean? Why are we doing this? And that is because they're settling because of loneliness. They are willing to bring random people around their kids. They're willing to bring bad quality people into their life just because they haven't figured out how to be happy by themselves. If you have kids, then you're not even by yourself. You know what I mean? That should be all the love you need in that household. You know, that should keep you plenty busy right there. I know it's a little harder for people that live by themselves, no kids or nothing like that. You know what I mean? Just broke up. You know, just broke up with their boyfriend. Haven't figured out how to be alone yet. Haven't figured out how to be happy alone yet. I can bet you this. If you go out and you find someone real quick, bad quality person, just because you haven't figured out how to be alone, you're going to be less happy when you break up with that person. And then when you move on to that next relationship with a bad quality person, you're going to be more unhappy when you break up with that person. And it's just going to be a spiral. You're just going to spiral down until you feel like this worthless person who can't keep a healthy relationship, who doesn't have nobody around. And it's just like a high gambling. You know what I mean? It's just like in gambling, they call it chasing the money. You know, it's like you place a bet and you get real close, but you lost. So you like, oh, I got real close, so I'm gonna place another bet. And you just keep placing your bets and losing and losing and losing and losing. And it's because you're just going off that high instead of actually taking time off and only betting on a very good decision. You know, it's the same thing. Same thing. But you can't find your happiness in someone. Yeah. And you shouldn't. You know, because you can find the best person in the world. You know, you can find the best person in the world. If you're not good mentally, if you haven't figured out who you are and you haven't figured out how to love yourself, you are very capable of ruining that person, you know? And it all comes back to them insecurities. People who don't love themselves find it very hard to understand why somebody else loves them. People who had past relationships where there was people who abused them or talked down on them, those people plant that seed in their mind, and it's very hard to get it out of their mind, you know, because they're traumatized by it. They're always thinking back like, oh, this ain't right because this is how it's supposed to be. They have been molded into thinking that this is how it's supposed to be. You know, it's supposed to be this way. And it's not. You can ruin a good person too if you haven't found happiness in yourself. You know, if you don't love yourself, you ain't gonna be able to love somebody else. And I said that a million times. Settling because of loneliness. Don't settle. Don't settle for someone because you're lonely. You shouldn't have to ask someone who loves you to be considerate. How do we feel? How do we feel about it? Should you have to, if someone truly loves you, should you have to ask them to be considerate or should it just come natural? Because I've always described love as when you love someone, you want more for them than you want for yourself. When you have kids, you want more for those kids than you want for yourself. When you marry your wife, you want more for your wife than you want for yourself. That is love, wanting more for someone than you want for your own self. I'm not saying sacrifice your happiness or your morals or anything like that. I'm just saying when you love someone, I think you're just naturally considerate because you're always thinking about them. You always want what's best for them. You know what I'm saying? If I get me something, I'm gonna get you one too because I want you to share in this with me. You know, 1,000%, 1,000%. I think being considerate just comes natural when you love somebody. And if you're finding yourself in a situation where you have to ask someone to be considerate, because they're just never thinking about you, or they're never taking you into account, or never considering how you feel about certain situations, then it probably reflects how they really feel about you, you know, especially if they're being really considerate to other people in their lives and they're constantly thinking about other people in their lives. But when it comes to you, it's just like, my bad. I forgot. I think 50-50. Some of it comes naturally, but you also have to express what you need, want different love languages. Yeah, need one. Everybody has different things that they need. Everybody has different things that they want. I'm just speaking in general of just being considered, because some things are common sense. Like some things shouldn't have to be expressed. Like, let me think of an example. Like, okay, your man goes out to let me use it. Let me think of an example. Your man goes out to a birthday party with his friends. His guy friend is turning 35, and you guys have been together for years and everything like this, and somebody posts pictures on Instagram, and in the background your man is sitting back there with his arm around another girl. Do we think that is very considerate of him to do that? And do we think that he's being considerate of your feelings once you see that picture? And I think it's just things, and it can be way smaller things too. I mean, just keeping people's emotions in mind, keeping people's feelings in mind. If you love somebody, then that means you care about them. You're not going to love somebody if you don't care about them. And if you care about them, then you have to be considerate. Okay, how would they feel if I did this? Probably not good, so I'm not going to do it. You know, growing up, my dad would always tell me, I want you to grow and have a better life than me. Yeah. And that's what love is just wanting more for the person that you love than you want for your actual self. Um, and I mean, there's other smaller things. It's just like remembering somebody's birthday, remembering an important, remembering your anniversary. You know what I'm saying? Like that's consideration. Like if you're just constantly moving through your relationship and you're never taking into consideration the other person's feelings, you're just always thinking about yourself, then I don't feel like that's love. I feel like that's pretty selfish. I feel like you're just getting what you want out of that relationship, or you're just settling for that person because you were lonely. And now you realized, well, I'm kind of bored with this, so I want to move on now. You know, I think it shows a lot. I'm not necessarily because I know a lot of people show their love in different ways, and I'm not necessarily saying that it doesn't mean that someone loves you because they're not constantly remembering you or doing things for you. I'm just saying that is a key factor in showing if you want to know if somebody loves you or not. Do they take you into consideration when they do stuff? Do they take you into account when they do things? You know what I mean? Because anytime there could be an iffy situation, that should be the first thing running through their mind. Like, no, I'm not going to do this because I know that how this would make them feel. You know, so consideration goes a long way, and that's with anything, not just relationships. Um, if you're supposed to be somewhere at 10 o'clock and you're not going to be there, be considerate enough to tell that person, hey, I'm not going to be able to come at 10 o'clock. I'll be a little late. I'll be a little late, probably like 11. Not messaging that person and just having that person stand there and wait for you at 10 o'clock, and you ain't gonna be able to be there at 10 o'clock. That's inconsiderate. You know what I'm saying? That makes me feel like you don't care. That makes me feel like you don't care about me. If you're supposed to be here at 10 o'clock and you can't come, that's fine. That's completely fine. That doesn't mean you don't care about me. That don't mean you don't love me. But if you don't message me to tell me that you ain't gonna be able to make it, and you just got me standing out here in the rain waiting for you, now I'm kind of like, oh yeah, that's kind of rude. That's kind of rude. That's kind of inconsiderate. You had no consideration for the fact that I'm sitting out here in the rain waiting for you. You know what I mean? Just it's just little stuff. It's just little stuff. Try to improve someone's day every time you have interactions. Every time you have interactions, man. Because there are some days that I find myself, just not in a good mood. And I'm not going to say not in a good mood. And because I've sat on here and I've said before, I don't believe in waking up in a bad mood, because when you wake up, you decide what kind of mood you want to be in. But I have found myself in on days where I just kind of I'm not feeling it, I don't have a whole lot of energy and I'm tired, I'm not real social with people. Um and I've just been kind of just getting through the day. And there have been people that have come up to me and initiated conversation with a smile on their face. They compliment me about something, you know what I mean? And it completely does a 360 to your entire day. I think people underestimate how much they can affect someone's day just by 10 seconds of interaction with them. Just having a smile, interacting with them, making them feel good about something. You know what I mean? Reminding them that everything's going to be all right. When people get kind of caught up in the motions and they're just going through the motions of the day and doing what they did the day before and the day before, it's kind of hard to be real enthusiastic about that. So I think a lot of people underestimate the uh the impact they can have on somebody's day. It don't take a lot. It don't take a lot, man. It's usually with old ladies with me, man. Because I work part-time at Aldi's. I've told you guys on here before. I work part-time at Aldi's. And some days I'll just be in there, just going through the motions, scanning groceries. I ain't really feeling it. Don't really want to be there. I'd rather be at home. I'd rather be at home. And like an old lady will come through and she'll just be in the best mood ever. She'll compliment me about my red hair, or compliment me about my cross necklace, or just ask me how the day is going. And then before she leaves, she'll tell me I have a blessed day or something like that. And that completely does a whole 360 to your day. And it was one of those times that it just hit me. And it was like, man, people really underestimate the effect that you can have on somebody's day. Somebody could be having a terrible day, and just 10 seconds of you smiling, saying something nice to them, initiating conversation, and telling them goodbye and have a good day afterwards can completely do a 360 to somebody's day. Moods and energy are very contagious, man. Moods and energy are very contagious. Look at somebody smiling. Look at somebody laughing and smiling, and see how hard it is for you not to smile. I mean, people do it all the time. When you're looking at your cell phone, and you'll come across a funny video and there's somebody in there laughing or something, it's hard. It is very hard not to smirk. And that's when somebody sees you across the room and you look stupid because you're sitting there smiling at your phone. Moods and energy are very contagious, man. Moods and energy are very contagious. If you come around acting sluggish, acting like you don't want to be here, then whoever's around you is probably going to start feeling that way too. Like, yeah, you're right. But if you come in there with a smile on your face, energetic, happy, ready to go, you know what I'm saying? Hey, I'm gonna be ready to go too. It's contagious, man. Like I said, try looking at somebody laughing, smiling, and joking around and not laugh. It's contagious. Keep that in mind. It's hard to be motivated when you haven't found your purpose. It's hard. It's hard. And I feel like a lot of us haven't found our purpose. And it's hard to keep doing something over and over again that you feel like isn't what you're supposed to be doing. If you have really found your purpose and you're really doing what you're supposed to be doing, then you're not going to have to try to get motivated. You're going to look forward to it. It's going to be like, you remember when you were a kid in school, in elementary school, and you knew you had a field trip the next day at school. And that was the only time that it was easy to get up out of bed early in the morning. When you were in elementary school, when you sluggish, don't want to get up, real hard to get up, so tired. But when you had a field trip the next day, that was the easiest day to get up out of bed. You was up out of bed, ready to go, ready to get on the field trip because you knew you weren't going to have to sit in it, because you knew you were doing something that you wanted to do. You were excited to do it. So when you find your purpose, you ain't going to have to find no motivation. You know what I mean? You're going to be enthusiastic. You're going to be excited to do it. It ain't going to be hard to get you up out of bed to go do it. You're going to be excited. You're going to be ready to go do it, just like the field trips when you were in elementary school. So I feel like a lot of times it's hard for people to get motivated simply because they don't feel like what they're doing is what they're supposed to be doing. They feel like they're supposed to be doing more. And you also got to realize that there's steps. You know what I mean? You got to get there first. You got to get there first. It ain't just going to happen overnight. So, and that's all part of life. Now, like we was talking about in our 30s, finding out what you want to do, find out what makes you happy, learning about yourself. And that's how you're going to find your purpose. That's how you're going to find what you love to do. That's how you're going to find that thing that makes you want to get out of bed in the morning and go do it simply because you love it and you enjoy it and you're passionate about it, not because you have to. You know what I'm saying? Because there are a lot of people I see, you know, they're trying different business ventures, and I'm not saying that you're wrong. I do it too. I try all kinds of different shit. And I feel like that's what you got to do. You know, it's like a buffet. You got to go through and try everything to figure out what you like most. You know, and I feel like that's life. I feel like that's life. Just trying to figure out our purpose, trying to find that thing that you don't have to get up and dread doing. You know, trying to find that thing that you thoroughly enjoy waking up every morning and going and doing. It's not hard for you to wake up because you was looking forward to it. I think the best thing in the world for everybody would be to find something that makes you feel like a kid on Christmas the night before every time you go to bed. Imagine finding something that every time you go to bed the night before you wake up and go do it, you feel like a kid before Christmas. You feel like a kid on Christmas Eve. Wouldn't that be fucking awesome? Sorry for cursing. Wouldn't that be awesome if you found something that made you feel that way every night before you went to bed? Man, it wouldn't be hard to get up. It wouldn't be hard to get up and go do that, would it? No. And it's out there. You just got to find it. First, you got to find you. You got to figure out who you are, what things you enjoy, what things you love. Then you'll figure out what you're supposed to be doing. And I haven't found it. I'm envious. I'm envious of the people that found it. Man, I'm envious of those people. But we will. That's all part of growing up, learning and experiencing and just figuring this thing out, man. That's what we're going to do. Hey, but I appreciate you guys tuning in for another episode of the Morning Brew podcast. If you were not on here earlier, like I said, Martin was not able to join us on this Thursday, but I did want to keep the theme sort of the same. Talked about God a little bit, shared a verse with you in the beginning, and then just talked about some self-improvement things throughout life as far as character and who you are as a person. So like I said, appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you haven't yet, go over to the Morning Brew podcast and the Charged Up podcast on YouTube. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, share, like, comment. If you're watching on Facebook, share, like, comment. Hey, sharing goes a long way. Sharing is caring. Sharing is caring. Sharing goes a long way. If you post it on your timeline, I guarantee you have friends that I don't have. So that means people that I'm not able to reach on my timeline, you're reaching for me. So make sure you share if you watch, if you enjoy it. But until next time, I will see you guys later, and you have a great rest of your Thursday.